There's a shortage going on right now that can easily turn into more shortages here in the near future. So let's talk about what it is, what it will affect, and why it's kind of a big deal. Hey everybody, it's Magic Prepper, and today we're talking about a global urea shortage that's going on right now and can easily cascade into more shortages here in the near future. And it's a big deal that we need to be paying attention to, as it'll affect two major industries that can have an effect on our daily lives, and that's agriculture and shipping and logistics. And if you're worried about staying ahead of these shortages and wanting to be able to better plan for any problems that might come your way in the future, then hit the subscribe button below, because I'll try my best to bring this information to you when I find it to be pertinent. And right now, I find it to be very pertinent. So, first and foremost, urea. It's in short supply and high demand. And it's going to affect the agricultural industry and the logistics industry almost immediately. We're seeing the effects of it now, and this could have a direct effect on both you and I, especially when it comes to the prices of goods. And that's a big deal for all of us right now. And just to mention, Prepper Now is another YouTube channel that recently put out some information about this topic. So make sure you go check out his channel, and I'll put a link to it in the description below in case you haven't heard of it before. But there's some great intel over there that you might not get anywhere else. So, first and foremost, how will this urea shortage affect agriculture? Well, urea is a key ingredient in a lot of things, and one of the things it's an ingredient in is fertilizer. Without urea, fertilizer is not going to be produced, right? And of course, there's a lot of reasons for why this is happening, which we'll talk about towards the end of the video. But first and foremost, with agriculture, this is going to hurt people's ability to produce agriculture, which could easily lead to more food shortages here in the future. This is also going to have an impact on any heavy diesel equipment that farms use currently. And that goes into the exact reason why this is going to affect the shipping and logistics industry as well, okay? So, urea is a key ingredient in AdBlue or DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid, okay? What diesel exhaust fluid is, in layman's terms, is a way to get rid of emissions and try to keep vehicles within, green standards, right? Well, first and foremost, it's used in any diesel vehicle and was implemented by the EPA in 2010 to be a requirement. Any vehicle that has an SCR system, which is a selective catalytic reduction system, is affected by this. And that includes trucks, trains, and ships, which is everything we rely on to get any resource you can think of around the world. And that is a big, big deal. Because of this urea shortage, we're actually running low on AdBlue or DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid. What does that mean? Why is this a big deal? Okay, well, here's the thing. If a vehicle or an engine, right, which could be anything from heavy farm equipment all the way to a truck or a boat or a train, runs out of AdBlue or DEF and it's equipped with an SCR system, it will decrease engine output power to barely anything. Basically, some vehicles might only run up to 5 miles per hour if they're out of the fluid, and once they turn off their engine and try to turn it back on, it will not work because the SCR system won't allow it to until it gets more AdBlue fluid. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but if you consider the concept that all these vehicles have been mandated to have these SCR systems since 2010. So for 11 years now, anything produced has had these systems, okay? Trying to get a workaround overnight is gonna be a big deal. Think about recalls when it comes to vehicles and getting all those parts and all those fixes taken care of. This could be a huge issue. Not to mention we're talking about cargo ships, trains, and trucks as well, tractors, harvesters, anything else that runs on diesel. This is a big, big deal because if any of that stuff stops running, we're going to find ourselves having some serious problems. And how much AdBlue or DEF is still out there, right? Well, just for an example, Australia is saying they only have 5 weeks supply left currently. 5 weeks. And they have 2 more weeks worth on order, okay? And that doesn't sound like a lot when it comes to being able to maintain an entire supply chain, now does it? Understand that this is going to affect everything from your food, because if you can't get the fertilizer you need and you can't get the equipment you need in order to harvest it, then suddenly food prices jump up and we have less access to food in general, which creates shortages, of course. And if you can't get products around based on cargo ships, trains, or trucks, then how is anyone going to receive the resources required to produce anything moving forward? This is a big deal. This is something we should definitely be keeping an eye on, okay? And now there are some other products that urea is utilized in that you might want to at least consider, and that's including dish soap, fire extinguishers, and some skin products. Maybe if you have eczema or psoriasis, you might want to take a look at those items and make sure you get them ahead of time before either prices go through the roof or they become less and less available. Those are just some basic preparedness related items that you might need in the sense of prepping, but there are a lot of other things that urea is used for, of course. Now, what's causing all this? Why is this happening? Okay, well, first and foremost, as a homage to Prepper Now, who I do suggest you checking out for great intel on a regular basis, large Asian nation, if you know, you know, stopped exports of urea back in July of 2021. They also stopped exporting phosphate, which is a key ingredient in fertilizer, right? So urea and phosphate exports are done because they wanted to maintain price levels domestically in their own country. And if they kept exporting everything they were producing, they weren't going to be able to do that, which made it so their agriculture was going to be affected and their ability to maintain supply chains and food supplies was going to be affected. So of course they're taking the me first route and making sure that they get what they need before they start exporting anything. Well, countries like Australia, I believe, rely on exports of urea from large Asian nation by about 80% of the total urea that they actually bring into the country. So that's a really big deal. Now, other factors are involved too. Natural gas is one of the things that's required in order to produce urea, right? Because yes, urea is in urine, but what they produce for all of these chemical needs is actually through a process that utilizes natural gas, and prices on that have skyrocketed as well. Okay, we know that that's been happening, especially here in the winter months, so that's making the production of it even that much more expensive. And not that it's related directly to urea, but Russia is also banning fertilizer exports for 6 months for the same exact reasons, because of shortages of phosphate and everything else related to this whole conversation. A large Asian nation, it almost got me there, they are actually waiting until June of 2022 to start exports once again. So here's what you have to really consider. First and foremost, diesel vehicles in general, one day might just not turn on, okay? Food is going to be very hard to grow without fertilizer. And all of this population that we support right now on the planet, 7 billion plus people, is only capable of surviving because of modern advances in agriculture. If we don't have access to the heavy equipment and to the fertilizers and everything else related to what is needed to grow food on a huge scale in the way we do it right now, things are gonna get tight very, very fast. So that's why this is such a big deal. And some people in Australia as well as in other countries are raising the alarm here because they're really struggling with how they're going to maintain their production levels with what's happening right now. This is happening in India, and it's going to happen everywhere at some point in time. And we know that here in the US, we rely on exports quite a bit. So we can't expect to just build manufacturing plants overnight to be able to produce urea and expect to just get caught up on this whole situation. That's a huge investment, and it still takes a lot of time before everybody's just up and running. So don't expect this to be easily fixed overnight. And there's also the other side of that whole conversation where when you see countries like large Asian nation, sorry, I just have to keep doing that for Prepper Now's sake, and Russia stopping the exports of these items, knowing what impact that will have, you have to consider the possibility that there's more at work here than just a shortage and just price containment. So this is a big deal. Keep an eye out for it. If any of these industries go down, I don't know what to say. I don't know what we're going to do after that. But I will tell you that all the preparing you're doing right now and all the preps you have on hand and all the investment of time, energy, and money you've put into preparedness will definitely pay off if this thing goes down the way it looks like it could if things don't get fixed very soon. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. If you have any questions for me at all, leave them in the comments below. Understand, I have other videos about how we rely on exports when it comes to things like natural gas, which I'll show up here on the screen so you can check it out. But I also have videos about this whole situation revolving around what would happen if the supply chain shut down for just 24 hours, specifically related to trucking. And obviously, without the AdBlue or the DEF, suddenly the trucks don't run. This is a big deal. I'll link that video up here also. So if you guys are interested in more information about that, check it out. And like I said before, if you want to maintain a level of awareness based around these topics, subscribe and stick around, because lately the reach has been limited. I'll let you figure out why. And that's going to be it for Magic Prepper.